Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is CFI Munden, and yesterday I had the opportunity to talk to a Part 121 recruiter, and I got some tips and tricks from him about how to make your resume look as good as possible. Okay, so these are some of the things that they're looking for. Now, granted, I only talked to him for about 20 minutes. I probably could have picked his brain for another couple of hours, but here's the information that I got from him that I'm going to give to you. And it's not every day we get to talk to and ask a recruiter questions and somebody who interviews for Part 121, which is like airlines and stuff like that, okay? So a couple of notes I have for you guys is he really emphasized interview prep. Interview prep, interview prep, interview prep. And he said that he gets a lot of people who think that they can just walk into an interview and just nail it. Some people can, but he said that most people cannot. So he highly recommended getting on some type of website. He gave me a few here. They help with resumes and interview prep called Fly the Line, Ascend Above, Emerald Coast, Cage Marshal, I think is how you say it, and Spitfire, just to name a few. And he said, go and work with these people, do the interview prep, okay? And I know it sounds, and he mentioned this too, and he said, it sounds cheesy and it sounds like it's a waste of money, but he's like, I promise you that goes a long, long way. And you pretty much, you might have multiple shots, but let's just assume you have one shot to nail this interview, okay? And if you're anything like me, you struggle with interviews. I interviewed for a flight school the other day, and I thought I would nail the interview, and I did. I ended up getting an offer, but refusing. And, you know, I know how to explain everything, and I know how to answer questions, but my problem was that I was talking too much and I didn't really know when to stop talking. And I feel like had I had done a little bit of interview prep, that would have helped me a lot. Okay, so he mentioned something called the STAR format. You can look at that yourself. It's basically how to answer questions properly and what they're kind of looking for with that. You could just Google STAR format and interview prep. He mentioned the importance of a digital logbook and how a lot of interviewers really want to see a digital logbook, which I'm getting some conflicting information on. I heard that some interviewers really want to see paper and some companies really want to see paper because it's harder to forge. But I think the common consensus is, and you guys can tell me if I'm correct on this, is that most recruiters, they want to see digital, okay? Whatever it is that you're using, they want to see it digitized. It just makes it easier to go through everything. And unfortunately, I've been using paper for the last 3 years, so I have not one, not two, but 3 full logbooks that I need to get into the electronic format as soon as possible. Okay, and he said that if you already have paper with all of your endorsements in it and your training, to keep that, of course, because you're going to need that for your interview, but think about going digital sooner rather than later. And he mentioned that on your paper logbooks, okay, if you have any stage check fails, check ride fails, he said like progress check fails, which I think it's like a Part 141 thing or something, annotate that in your logbook with little tabs, okay? He also mentioned tabbing out certain requirements that you had, like you knocked out your multi-engine on this day, so you tab that out, color coding each of these requirements so it's easy for a auditor or an interviewer to go through, okay? Speaking of auditing, he also mentioned that he does audit logbooks, okay? And this shouldn't be a surprise to any of you guys, but do not forge your logbook. Do not falsify anything, okay? This is an FAA document. Remember, you agreed not to lie in these books, and he mentioned that when he goes through this, of course, he doesn't have all the time in the world, but what he's looking for really is anomalies, okay? So I don't know about you, but as a CFI, I can go through your logbook and I can look through this and I will see numbers that stand out unusually, okay? So if I'm going through your logbook as a CFI, and I can only imagine as an auditor, especially if the auditor is a CFI, if they're going through this and they see that in one day, single engine time, you logged 11 hours, but you as a CFI wrote down you gave 9 hours of dual given instruction, you're breaking a reg. You're only supposed to do 8 hours a day. You see what I mean? And then if he looks and he sees 9 hours, and this is the example that he gave, he's like, okay, you did 9 hours of local time? You flew in circles around the airport? There's no to from. What's going on here? You see what I mean? And just make sure that this is dialed in, okay? I understand, and he understands that everybody makes mistakes on their logbooks. There's a lot going on in here, okay? But be very, very careful. And I've heard some people say that you can get away with falsifying logbooks because they don't look that hard. First of all, They do, okay? They'll audit you. And second of all, why would you risk it, okay? You don't want to go into an interview stressing out about if they're going to catch that 1 hour you lied on or that one rating that you lied on or whatever it is. It's not worth it. They're going to audit your logbook. So think about making sure all that's good to go and then switching to the electronic logbook, which, Lord help me, I have 1,200 hours that I need to switch into the digital format, which that's a whole thing in and of itself. But that was a big one, okay? Was make sure your logbooks are dialed in. Another one is he mentioned LinkedIn. This is the second time talking to an aviation professional. One of them was a dispatcher. This guy, of course, is a recruiter, where he's like, make a LinkedIn. He's like, I know it's cliche and I know it's kind of cheesy and LinkedIn's kind of slept on these days, but he said that LinkedIn looks really, really good to a potential employer and an interviewer, okay? And he mentioned that he made a LinkedIn that he actually got several job interviews off of because he had that LinkedIn, reaching out to recruiters, contacting them, following up with them. So I feel like that goes without being said, but think about making a LinkedIn. I think it's going to be really, really helpful. I'm guilty of not having one. I always thought it was kind of silly and cheesy and kind of annoying, to be honest. But the further I get into this and the closer I get to hitting my ATP minimums, the more I realize not a resume, but a LinkedIn is actually really good, okay? Which brings me to my next point is resume, okay? Make sure your resume is clear and concise, and make sure that recruiter or that interviewer or HR can read the entirety and understand the vibe of your resume in 30 seconds to a minute, okay? So I had an old resume that I look back on now, I'm like, ooh, I can't believe I submitted that to people. It was bad, okay? It was really bad. It was convoluted. There was an excess amount of bullet points. It was very confusing. Then I had someone else make me a resume, and it was beautiful, aesthetic, evened out, and way less information than you think, okay? Of course, I have my hours on there, my total time, my high performance, my complex time, all of my ratings, but it's very, very simple. I actually removed all the bullet points that I had that detailed like previous jobs I had in the Army, and so I just cut it all out. I'm like, what does a recruiter need to see? Boom, 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 okay? 30 seconds to a minute. He said, make sure your resume is dialed in, all right? Which he said, reach out to like Cage Marshall, I think is the name of the website, and other websites to have a professional resume made for you, or create one to have them look over it for you, and they'll give you tips, okay? Now, I think one of the biggest tips that he gave me in this interview that I did with him, very short one, and this kind of caught me off guard, was he said volunteer work. What? Volunteer work? That wasn't even on my radar before I talked to this guy. And he said volunteer work looks great on your resume, okay? So Pilots for Kids, food banks, like you're working for and with food banks, humane societies, the Young Eagles program, the Civil Air Patrol, working for and with nonprofits and volunteer work of any kind. He said any kind. He worked with like dogs or something like that, and then the Young Eagles, and what else did he do? He said Pilots for Kids. It all looks really, really good on a resume. One, it's good that you're doing that anyways, and then two, it's pretty easy to do. It's a nice resume bullet point. It's something extra. And I was looking at someone else's resume the other day, and she had a ton of volunteer work, and she got hired flying a PC-12. I'm not saying this is why, but she got hired flying a PC-12 like 1,300 hours, and she had a ton of volunteer work, okay? So think about getting into the Humane Society or getting into a food bank, donating 3 hours a month, okay, to whatever it is that you're deciding to do, and that'll look really, really good on a resume, okay? So those were just some of the tips that this guy gave me. I can't think of anything else at this moment. I got his contact information, but I wanted to share that information with you, okay? So in summary, all right, do interview prep, learn how to interview, learn how to be interviewed, and use the STAR format. Think about switching your logbook to the digital version if you haven't already. Make a LinkedIn if you haven't already. If you have a resume, make sure it's readable in 30 seconds to a minute. Make sure it's clean, easy on the eyes. Make sure it has all your time there. Your logbooks, don't falsify them. I can't believe I had to say that. Volunteer for work, like nonprofit work or charity work, okay? So volunteer, Pilots for Kids, Food Bank, Humane Society. Oh, last thing. Hiring events. Okay, that's what I was forgetting. Hiring events. He mentioned the importance of going to hiring events and meeting with people and getting out into the industry, breaking out into it. I'm a little bit more introverted. That kind of stuff is really difficult for me to do. But he said they have them all over the place. And I looked on the website, one of the websites, and there's one coming up in Phoenix, Arizona soon. There's one coming up in Las Vegas, LA, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, where I've never been to one, but he mentioned that you need to start going to hiring events, okay? You're not just gonna walk in there and expect to get a job, but at least you're breaking out of your shell, getting into the industry a little bit more, and just meeting people, you know? No matter what level of experience you're at, it's good to do that, whether you're at 1,500 hours or whether you're at 50 hours, okay? So that was some of my tips that I got from a Part 121 recruiter. Invaluable information that I just wanted to share with you guys. If you guys like this video, if you can like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And I hope everything's going good, guys. I'm at 1,250 hours. So we're getting there, okay? So I need to start thinking about some other things, how the future is gonna go with like airlines, or if I'm gonna go corporate or whatever it is, okay? Anyways, I'll see you.